as a musical reporter, how do you feel about the? Oh, I'm scared to. I don't want to. About the music industry as a whole, because I mean, you have had a good time making a good living at the music industry.
Well, let's talk about the music industry for a moment.
Okay.
The important word here is industry, not music. That's the key word. It's very big and it's very powerful, and the bigger it gets and the more powerful it gets, the more appealing it becomes to people in government, because they see a vehicle by which they can reach a younger age voter group. And so we have situations like people who want to run for office approaching people who are in the music business to either donate their services for concerts or to endorse candidates. It started to happen during the last bunch of elections, and I'm sure it's going to happen a lot during the next bunch of elections. And every time you see a political figure in the presence of a person from the music business or from television or from the movies, you should smell a rat and get away from it.
You mean because you think they've been paid off to support that person, or perhaps they have convictions in that area?
There are very few times that I can imagine where convictions will play a part in it, and many times where there is pressure put on the artist, especially in terms of recording artists, where this joining of forces between the music people and the political people are to the advantage of both parties.
But now you come back to that very word that Ren used, power.
an industry providing entertainment for people who need to be entertained, okay, it's doing its job. But I have a different view of music. I think that it has an aesthetic importance that goes beyond chart placement. And the business of music is all about this fake list of who sold what. And the whole idea of selling large numbers of items in order to determine whether or not the item has any quality to it is what's really repulsive about it. And the function that is required of you as a musician in the United States basically is please be a jukebox. It's not even please, just be a jukebox. We want you to play whatever it is you just put out on your record, and we want it to sound just like the record. And so this desire on the part of the audience to have live in-person replication of freeze-dried material is one of the forces that led to the Milli Vanilliism that we now see, because a lot of the contemporary albums, you can't play it live. You have to just have a track playing in the background and, you know, fake it all.
Musicians will always make music. However, the people who make records are not always musicians. You know, sometimes they're just plain show people. Or in the case of some of the punk groups, they're guys off the street that were gathered together by a boutique owner. You know, the fact of the matter is that advertised properly, people will buy anything. See? And now that the lesson of punk has been learned, that you can sell anything to anybody, there's no telling what the next trend will be.
What about the music of today? What direction is it going in?
It's going to the bank.
Is that a creative assessment? Is that good for music?
It's not good for music, but the accountants love it.
Mm-hmm. How about radio?
Same thing.
Are you at all embittered by the fact that the same people get played on commercial radio?
I don't listen to the radio.
So you have nothing to be...
You guys shouldn't either. There's nothing in it for you.
What about television? Watch much television?
No. I like the news. I watch CNN most of the time.
Mm-hmm. Did the news ever get you down? I mean, that's not a...
No, I like to watch the news because I don't like people very much, and when you watch the news, you know, if you ever had an idea that people were really terrible, you can watch the news and know that you're right. Let's ask ourselves, what was he doing during the war? Politics is the entertainment branch of industry.
Well, I was hiding over at Bitburg and...
They do more to entertain us than to serve us.
Well...
It seems that the problem with government as an institution is uniformly bad worldwide. It may be the only thing that binds all nations together, is the incompetence of all of their governments. It's not that they make you think they don't know what they're talking about. They don't know what they're talking about, and that's the problem with American politics, because qualified people don't run, usually.
Deep down in my heart, she was mine.
The unions are the mafia, which is the CIA, which is the Catholic Church, which is the government, which is, what's the difference? It's corrupt. It's the same guys pulling these strings, you know, and one day he pulls a string and poof, this lamp comes out. You know, the next day he pulls a string and there's a missile coming out. The way I look at it, take a look at the people who have been presidents in the United States so far. Could I do any worse? If I didn't know shit from Shinola, could I do any worse?
If you would compare the President Zappa, what would be the main differences you could work out?
I work more hours, and I'm awake. I don't even care whether they listen to what comes out. I'm concerned with getting it out, just giving people the option of something other than the norm of American entertainment.
important to even be remembered. I mean, the people who worry about being remembered are guys like Reagan, Bush. These people want to be remembered. And they'll spend a lot of money and do a lot of work to make sure that remembrance is just terrific. I don't care.
To induct Frank Zappa, Lou Reed.
It's very rare in life to know someone who affects things, changes them in a positive way. I've been lucky enough to have known some in my life. Andy Warhol, Doc Pomus, people whose vision and integrity was such that it moved the world a bit. People who, through the articulation of their talents and intelligence, were able to leave things better than they found them. People who were not only not in it for the money, to paraphrase Frank Zappa. Frank Zappa was such a person, and of the many regrets I have in life, not knowing him a lot better is one of them. Whether writing symphonies, satirical broadsides, or casting a caustic glow across the frontier of madness that makes up the American political landscape, whether testifying before Congress to put the PMRC in its rightful lowly place, or acting as a cultural conduit for President Václav Havel and the Czech government, Frank was a force for reason and honesty in a business deficient in these areas. As we reward some with money for the amusement they supply to the cultural mass, I think the induction of Frank Zappa into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame distinguishes the hall as well as the inductee. Musicians usually cannot speak, that's why they communicate through their instruments. But Frank was one who could, and because music is pure, the musician is pure as well. And when Frank spoke, he demonstrated the power of purity. Who will do that now?
Schools train people to be ignorant with style. They give you the equipment that you need to be a functional ignoramus. American schools do not equip you to deal with things like logic. They don't give you the criteria by which to judge between good and bad in any medium or format. And they prepare you to be a usable victim for a military-industrial complex that needs manpower. As long as you're just smart enough to do a job and just dumb enough to swallow what they feed you, you're going to be all right. But if you go beyond that, you're going to have these grave doubts that give you stomach problems, headaches, make you want to go out and do something else. So I believe that schools mechanically and very specifically try and breed out any hint of creative thought in the kids that are coming up.